Hi everyone, it's Miranda with Multiplicity Crafts. Today I am doing something a little different, which I hope you'll enjoy. This is all about jelly plate printing, so let's jump right in. So what exactly is jelly plate printing? Well, it's also sometimes referred to as mono printing, and mono means one or single. So the reason it's called that is because you get a single unique print each time. You can't duplicate a print. It's just like a thumbprint. It's just very unique. And your prints can be used for card making, art journals, you can do scrapbooking or mixed media wall art, and a variety of all other kinds of crafts. Here I'm showing you how to do a basic print. You just want to add a little bit of paint. You don't really need that much. You can mix and match colors. Just make sure that the colors play nice together so they don't turn into mud. And whenever you roll out your paint, you want to roll it and then lift up your brayer, roll it again, lift up, and so on. Once you get the paint mixing, you don't necessarily have to lift it in between each roll, but it helps at first to spread the paint out over your plate. Once you have the paint spread out, all you have to do is just put your copy paper on top of the jelly plate, and you can press firmly with your hands, or you can clean the brayer and roll it over just to get a nice good contact on your paper. Lift your paper up gently and you will reveal your beautiful print. Of course, this is just a very basic print, but you get the idea of how to do jelly plate printing. Pretty much any kind of paper or medium will work for jelly plate printing. I find that just plain copy paper seems to work the best for me, and the only paper to be aware of is just glossy cardstock or photo paper, since it will stick to the jelly plate. However, magazine pages are okay to place down on top of your paint to get a unique magazine print look. So that's kind of fun. Now, as far as mediums are concerned, you can use so many different ones. Some mediums can stain your plate, but it won't really affect your prints. Here's a short list of some of the mediums you can try. Not necessarily. There are conditioners you can use on your plate, but after your first couple of practice prints, you really don't need a primer. Simply use your plate, and as you use it like normal, it will suffice for priming it. Wow, there are so many techniques you can do with the jelly plate. You can do ghost prints where you pull the paper up first and then get the most of the paint off and then do a secondary print. It just kind of gives you the ghost of what's left over, so it's a really pale, nice, soft print. You can do magazine prints. You can use stencils or textures such as bubble wrap, leaves, twine. You can even use like a fine-tooth comb and make designs in your paint. That's just to name a few examples. So if you want to see more techniques in action, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to record some more videos showing these techniques. Lines are a very common variable when jelly plate printing, but it can add to the look and texture of your print. However, if you are wanting more of a smooth print, you might just want to try to add less pressure on your brayer when you roll the paint. Also, a larger brayer may be needed if it's too small for your plate. Sometimes it's just as simple as adding more paint or using less paint or even cleaning your brayer or your plate. I find the main issue is just that you're adding too much pressure with the brayer. Just go a little bit lighter and you should be able to work those lines out of the paint. It all depends on the look you're going for. Now, if you want a distressed, artsy look to your piece, then you might want to just let the paint dry on there from the previous print and let that transfer onto your new print, and that may not bother you. That may be the look you're going for. Now, the brayer itself is best when it's rolled onto some scrap paper in between prints, so the paint doesn't get all muddied on your brayer. But you don't need to deep clean the brayer when working with it. Just rolling it onto a scrap piece of paper does the trick. But if you want a completely clean jelly plate to start with, I'll let you know how to do that in the very next and final step. Finally, let's discuss how to clean up. Let's start with how to clean and store the jelly plate. Now, it can be cleaned by using various methods. Firstly, you can use packing tape to pull the dried paint away from the plate, but some people, if they don't have the tape on hand or they want to use a different way, you can also use the hand sanitizer or a baby wipe to clean your plate. Soapy water or baby oil will also do the trick. If you need to clean both sides, just be careful not to place your jelly plate directly onto your table because it is infused with a harmless mineral oil which might absorb into your table. You can just place it on top of a piece of paper or the carrier sheet that it came on. Also, when you're using your jelly plate, you'll want to keep the bottom part on a piece of paper or on the carrier paper. If the baby wipe alone doesn't work, just add a little bit of sanitizer to get the stubborn, dried paint off of your jelly plate. It actually works really well. You don't want to use anything to scratch it or scrape it off with your fingernail because you might get a scratch in the jelly plate, so be very careful with that. Now on the brayer, it can be cleaned a little bit differently. I pretty much use the same things like the baby wipe and the sanitizer and packing tape, but if the paint's really dried on there and it's stubborn, the brayer may not want to come clean. So in those instances, you might have to soak it for a few hours. Sometimes I'll just wrap the paper towel around it and just let it soak. I don't find that I have the patience to sit around and wait on it to soak clean, so I use my metal cuticle pusher and I scrape the paint off. Now this is a lot different from the jelly plate. You don't want to scrape at the jelly plate, but with this, I think you can get by with it a little bit. I may not be giving the best advice, but it works for me. I've never had any problems or any scratches in my brayer. The brayer does come apart if you need to clean it or get the edges of it clean. Sometimes it's hard to clean with it on the metal, so if you need to pull it away, most brayers will come apart for cleaning purposes. And as far as storage, the brayer can just be stored with your craft supplies. Nothing special is needed there. But on your jelly plate, you want to keep it in tip-top condition, so it needs a little bit more TLC. You should not store the jelly plate just anywhere open. You need to store it at room temperature, and it needs to be kept either on the carrier sheets it came with, those clear sheets, or on panels of copy paper on both sides, and then stored in the little clamshell case that it came in. Or you can even use like a sealed flat container, just as long as it's stored flat so it doesn't warp. And I personally recommend to clean it before you store it. A lot of people don't. They just let the paint dry on there if they use it kind of often because they like the look of the residual paint on their upcoming prints. But I personally think it's better to go ahead and clean it before you store it, just to be on the safe side and just so it's ready to go when you start again. I hope that this was helpful for you. Again, leave me comments if you have any questions or if you want to see some more of these techniques in action or even see like a card or something made out of one of these prints. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.